I've just completed a tour of the government industrial school, and I've met some young men who've had some challenges. One of the challenges we face with respect to the reform of young people is that we're operating under some pretty archaic laws. Our system, the philosophy that governs our approach to youth who are in trouble, is influenced and informed by laws and a thought process that is largely outdated. We need to look at what we operate under. We need to look at how we can modernize our laws and make them more relevant. And we need to look at what is the core value that we are trying to achieve. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to punish young people? Are we trying to reform young people? Are we trying to keep them out of the system entirely? And what are we putting in place to help them once they've come into our care? So these are a number of things that we need to balance. So my philosophy is that we need to catch the young people before they come into the system. A number of our youth are facing challenges. There are challenges out there in society. We are seeing it manifested with children at school, more children getting into fights, more incidences of violent crime among children. And while we may want to deal with them afterwards, the fact is very few children escalate to criminal activity all of a sudden. If you're honest and you track them, you can see manifestations from early childhood. You can see that children are not responding well to pressure situations. They don't know how to deal with anger, and it escalates, and they keep getting in more and more trouble. I intend to work with the Ministry of Youth to try to catch and help as many young people as possible. We need positive programs in Barbados. We need programs that target the youth, that involve a number of state agencies. Right now, we operate in silos. So right now, we may have like the National Council of Substance Abuse on one hand, the Probation Department on the other hand, the government industrial schools on the other hand, but they're not necessarily working together. So everybody is protecting their own turf and doing their own thing, and it gives us a piecemeal approach to helping children. What we need to do is sit down and have a comprehensive look at all of the things that affect children and how can we best utilize the resources of the government without duplicating efforts to help the children. And that must necessarily involve the Ministry of Youth. We have to holistically look at all the legislation. It can't be just amending one piece. So there was a draft child justice bill. But once again, even the draft child justice bill starts to deal with what do we do with the children once they've committed an offense. We need to look holistically at all of the legislation affecting children. Some can be amended to make it relevant. Some need to be scrapped entirely. Some we need to move away from entirely and take a completely different approach. We've already started a look at all the legislation that deals with the penal system, whether it's with the adults or the children. I mean, we're looking at a parole system. We're looking at electronic monitoring of adults. In the same way, we're looking holistically at all the legislation that governs children and all the departments that actually deal with children. So the Child Care Board needs to be talking to the government industrial school, which needs to be talking to the probation department, which needs to be talking to the substance abuse council. So we need to have a holistic way of dealing with this. We need to look at the whole child and try to figure out exactly how can we intervene early enough to prevent them from having to benefit from the system. What makes sense? What can we do and put in place that can help our young people get ahead? Whether it's entrepreneurship schemes, whether it's changing the syllabus in schools, whether it's changing the syllabus at the government industrial school. What can we do holistically? I keep using the word holistically, but it's really the only word that fits. What can we do holistically to inform our process to help our young people develop positively? And let's keep them out of the criminal justice system. So people believe that based on the crime, based on the end result of the crime, it should determine whether a child is treated as an adult. It has to deal with the mental competency of the child. Is the child capable of thinking as an adult? Because, for example, an adult may see somebody passing below a window and throw a brick at them, intending the natural consequence of their action. And if that person is hit on the head and killed, then that is clearly murder. A child may, as a prank, throw a brick out the window. If it hits somebody and kills them, then the reality is the person is still dead. And although the actions are the same, does that mean that child should now be treated as an adult when the child could not have foreseen down the line? Where it matters whether a child is treated as an adult has to do with the child's ability to understand the consequences of what they did. Now, there's some children, the law has a certain minimum age below which it is deemed that you can't commit a crime. There are, however, some children who are advanced enough, or the criminal action that they commit shows sufficient thought and planning that the only way to deal with them is in the adult system. That's when you should try your child as an adult. It can't be a knee-jerk reaction anytime a child now does something. We're saying try them as an adult. Then where go the child protection laws? The minimum age of criminal responsibility is there for a reason. It contemplates that the average child is capable of criminal thought and a formulation of a criminal act and the appreciation of a criminal act only at a certain age. So I am hesitant to tamper with that because some children have done things. You need to not look at the exceptional children who've committed criminal acts, but when we're making the legislation, it has to be legislation that covers or caters for the average child.